the submarines will be under US command. And he points out that it's going to be some time before Australians will be in a position to appoint their first submarine captain. So he thinks there is subordination to the US there. Paul Keating, the former Labor Prime Minister, has also said that he thinks Australia's sovereignty is being, quote, willfully suborned in this deal.
President Joe Biden and the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced the new AUKUS deal in San Diego yesterday.
AUKUS matches our enduring commitment to freedom and democracy with the most advanced military, scientific and technological capability. Nowhere is that clearer than in the plans we're unveiling today for the new AUKUS submarine, one of the most advanced nuclear-powered subs the world has ever known.
The three leaders agreed measures aimed at countering the perceived Chinese threat in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, Bernard Lagan covers Australia for the Times. Bernard, just explain then what changes, what's been agreed?
Well, the essential agreement is that Australia, with Britain's help, will build a new fleet of 8 nuclear-powered submarines in Adelaide to begin service sometime in the 2040s. And it's going to cost Australian taxpayers a whopping $368 billion over the life of the project. That goes through to about 2055. So it's a huge investment. One of the things that will happen will be that these submarines, well, of British design, will be equipped with an American combat system, which is quite a departure for Britain. It is manufactured its own in the past. In the interim, Australia will also acquire up to 5 second-hand US Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines. We expect to see the first of these sometime in the mid-2030s. And these will be needed because Australia's current fleet of diesel-electric submarines will have to be retired by then unless we refurbish them for a period. So they are the essential parts of the deal.
And what's the reaction been? I mean, first of all, that's a lot of money for the taxpayer. What's been the reaction from people there?
Well, look, a lot of this has been flagged in the past. There seems to be fairly widespread public support for acquiring these submarines. The last poll I saw quite recently showed that those voters who leaned towards the conservative side of politics, 87% of them were in support of the acquisition of nuclear-powered submarines, and for people who sided with Labor, some 68% were in favour. So those figures are quite high, driven, I think, no doubt, by Australia's recent history of skirmishes with China. I don't mean physical skirmishes, I mean the trade retaliation that China has put onto Australia in recent times, cutting off our coal, seafood and timber exports, that kind of thing. And I think the war in Ukraine also has heightened Australians' perceptions that they are less secure than what they thought they were. So the only voices, and they are substantial voices, that have been raised against this are 2 former prime ministers from different sides of politics. Malcolm Turnbull, who was from the conservative side of politics, has said that he thinks the unanswered question is this: could the submarines be operated by US? His difficulty with this thing is that the submarines will be under US command. And he points out that it's going to be some time before Australians will be in a position to appoint their first submarine captain. So he thinks there is subordination to the US there. Paul Keating, the former Labor Prime Minister, has also said that he thinks Australia's sovereignty is being, quote, willfully suborned in this deal. So it does have its critics.
Here in the UK, this is, I suppose, is a great kind of photo op for Rishi Sunak. You know, he's doing something important. He's doing something to defend us. He's doing something international, something global, and that might bolster his position potentially a little bit. What might it do for the Australian Prime Minister?
Well, ironically, it was the former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, who put this deal together before his government was defeated in the May 2021 election. And ever since his defeat, his reputation has come unstuck for various reasons. If anything, it is Scott Morrison's reputation that has been rehabilitated by this deal because it's very much associated with him rather than Anthony Albanese. Anthony Albanese has simply continued the deal that Morrison was the architect of. So I actually think that the Conservative parties may gain more out of this than the Australian Labor Party.
Interesting. Bernard, thank you very much for that. That's Bernard Lagan, who covers Australia for The Times.